please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Roosevelt, Smith, Vice President Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Ms. Gruel moves, Mr. Weiss seconds. Without objection, those minutes will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
All right, Ms. Hahn moves and Mr. Alarcon seconds. Without objection, those will be approved. Next order of business.
Mr. President, this is Tuesday, and there's a flag salute.
Okay, if I can ask everybody to please rise for our traditional Pledge of Allegiance. And Ms. Gruel, would you be kind enough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, maybe it's not.
Over your heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gruel. If we can run through the agenda, please.
Item 1 is the Historic Waterfront Property and Business Improvement District, notice for public hearing, and there is a card on that item.
Okay, we'll call that special for card from the public. Next items.
Items 2 through 7 are street lighting district items, notice for public hearing. On item 3, the Bureau is requesting that matter be received and filed, and on the remainder, Council should continue the hearings and present the ordinances on July 29th.
Okay, without objection, we'll receive and file 3 and continue the rest of the ordinances to the 29th with the public hearings open. Next items, please.
Items 8 through 12 are ordinances, notice for public hearing.
Okay. Do we have cards on any of those?
Yes, you have cards on 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Okay, we'll call those special for cards from the public. Any council members wishing to call 12 special? If not, we'll go ahead and open and close the public hearing on 12. If we can please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That will carry over 1 week for a second reading. Next items, please.
Items 13 through 21 are items for which public hearings have been held. Item 13 is a commission appointment. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold 13 on the desk.
And on item 14, the applicant consents to a continuance to Friday, July 11th.
Okay, we'll go ahead and continue item 14 then until Friday the 11th without objection. That leaves us 15 through 21. Any specials, colleagues? 15 through 21? Not quite yet. Not quite. 15 through 21. If there's no other specials there, let's go ahead then on those items, and please open the roll on the balance, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 22 through 43 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, Mr. Rosendahl?
28, 29, and 30 can be seen as one.
Okay. From Mr. Rosendahl, we'll do 28 through 30. We do have some cards from the public as well on items 22, 26, 28, and 35, as well as 37, 42, and 43.
Mr. President, I believe there's a card on 25 as well.
25, okay. Yes, there's a card on 25 as well. Thank you. We'll call those special for cards from the public. Any other specials from council members? We'll open and close the public hearings on the balance. This is 22 through 43, colleagues. Any other specials? If not, let's go ahead and open the roll on the balance, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved, except 23, which will go over to a second reading. We can now go to public comment, and we'll begin with Zuma Dog. After that will be Hugo Pacheco. Good morning.
Oh, boy, it's hard to say good morning with all the corruption and racketeering that's going on in this city. First of all, I'd like to thank the Los Angeles Times. Zuma Dog's come here for 2 years. I have said the number one problem that this city faces is the corruption and funneling of money into nonprofits where there's no accountability and it all disappears and then the services aren't providing and the community falls into disrepair. Front page, LA Times, Sunday edition, nonprofit, abuse, and everything I said. Thank you, LA Times. I shouted here 2 weeks ago, where's the LA Times on this story? And I'm not saying they reacted, but a very good timing on that one. Now, on American Top 40, I'm Casey Kasem. And now we're up to our new #1 fraud, waste, and abuse problem in the city, according to public advocate Zuma Dog. It's called the Gold Line is stopped. Oh, my goodness. MTA delays action on Gold Line extension. Excuse me. Zumindog demands immediately a moratorium on all high-density housing projects built around the Gold Line. You came here for years and said, oh, we're building all this dumb smart growth around the Gold Line, MTA Mass Transit. So you approved all these high-density projects along the Gold Line, and now it says right here on Thursday, MTA board said they want to wait until a county ballot measure to increase the sales tax. So this delay, they delayed giving money for the Gold Line, and now this means womp, 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 womp. We're going to lose out on $320 million in federal funding. So we lose out on $320 million of funding because they say, oh, we don't want to pay it ourselves. We're going to do a 0.5% sales tax to pay for this. You guys are crazy. I demand that you stop all density housing along the Gold Line, because if you said it's based on the Gold Line and you're not doing the Gold Line, you don't do the housing either. And vote no on all new taxes. A lot of them are coming. Vote no on all new taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Dog. Hugo Pacheco is our next speaker. After that will be Oscar Johnson. Hugo Pacheco? Here. If not, we'll go to Mr. Johnson. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson. Good morning.
My name is Oscar Johnson. I'm active for the homeless. I'd like to know, I have a few questions. What does freedom mean? Does freedom mean failure, or does freedom mean oppress the poor? We're in a society today where our representatives don't have to be accountable for the money they receive to help us. And that's state money, that's taxpayers' money, it's not their money. We need to end corruption in government, end corruption in the media, end corruption in the corporate. In the last 30 years, corporate America just made a big farm out of the minorities that work for corporate America. Certain words I would not use because I try to respect the people that are listening. But anyway, we should find a government that can be fair with all peoples. And our MTA buses at night is something dangerous to be riding on. And I've seen MTA operators, minorities, African American males, men, women, 6 and 7 months pregnant, driving MTA buses. What is MTA about? That's racketeering, fraudulent entities set up for money, just use minorities in the thing in the present of progress. What does our freedom really mean to us, though, in America in this 21st century? In the last 21st century, in 1960, up until now, 700 unsolved murders in America, 700,000 unsolved murders in America. And today, our district attorney is turning their backs on unsolved murders in Los Angeles with minorities and Afro-American men. But years ago, the Ku Klux Klan terrorized the African community for centuries. They wore their sheets over their face and they wore hoods. But today, the modern-day Ku Klux Klan, there's a policeman that wears badges and guns in the sheriff's department. There's a sheriff uniform that go across this country killing black men, and women don't have to be accountable for their action. No consequences. We need a government that can be fair with all people and bring justice to African-American people. Make this land a land of safety and security.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Our next speaker is out in San Fernando Valley. It will be Donna Pearman, and followed by Rick Nightingale. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Garcetti. Anyway, I agree with Zumindog. Voters don't vote for new taxes. Anyway, I'm back in Van Nuys. Sorry, Zumindog, I don't know when I'll be back in Spring Street. Channel 35 viewers in Spring Street. I saw a celebrity, most important person in City Hall. Yes, I saw Zumindog. When I was trying to find a city council, people didn't know who they are. I should have asked where Zumindog was. That's something people know. He's a real great guy down to earth. It's a pleasure seeing Councilman Rosendahl, and I saw Councilman Perry and Alarcon. I love seeing all those nice pictures on the first floor, old pictures that we see in Hollywood and other areas. Sorry I didn't get to get close to President Garcetti, my mistake. Anyway, I understand that City Council is not out for our own interest. Our city employees, they want to get rid of the civil service for the city employees, and the city employees, not the City Council, deserve everything they get. And people don't seem to want to give the city employees good wages. They deserve their wages. Anyway, let's see. I'm sorry. Let's see. I'm reading in the paper about upcoming water shortages. This is not a time to start building new projects. CRA doesn't care for a water shortage. How will we penalize? Not water our lawns properly. Go to the small guy who lets his water accidentally run, but don't go after a rich developer. It's always the small guy, the lower to middle class, who feels it. Everything is going up. My cancer medicine doubled in price after first making me wait, and last week I thought it was going to be discontinued and I wouldn't get it at all, but finally it's back. The buses are terrible. I had to wait in the heat for at least 45 minutes for a bus at rush hour. Please, Councilman Weiss, we need to help in Westwood. Buses are sporadic there. We need to stop believing the CRA as not out for our own interests. We don't need Grand Avenue Project, Hollywood Project. It's only for the interest for the developer. It's anyway, it's money. It said, oh yeah, in the movie They Live, they say money is our God. Maybe they updated to CRA as our God. City Council apparently in love with them. I don't want to pay for all the projects. I want to have a voice.
And it was good to see you here in council chambers. Come downtown anytime. Rick Nightingale is our next speaker. After that will be John Walsh.
Hey, good morning. Rick Nightingale.
Good morning.
This is regarding, like they were saying about the water and that stuff, too. How can you turn around and we're going to have a shortage and all that, and then you turn on all this building going on? I mean, every time I read the paper, you're promoting more building for the homeless or whatever. However, it don't matter. There's just, you survive on water. If it isn't going to be there, we're not going to survive. And then you turn around, another thing was all of a sudden we're going to have 700 and some odd 100 layoffs between the city. And then you read the paper and, oh, well, no, it's not. We went from different slots that were available. I mean, you talk about really scamming it from one place to the next. That really takes the cake. And then we're having a money shortage, and then I see on the news that I could not believe down in San Pedro that you put this fountain in, and it's not even open yet, and the kids are using it as a swimming hole. And then they turn around and says, well, we're going to have that, but we're going to have a guard on there. So now who's going to pay for this guard from, I don't know what time in the morning, but till 10 o'clock at night to try to keep these kids out? I can imagine trying to keep a bunch of kids out that turn around and want to go swimming, and he's going to be running around, because that's a pretty big fountain down there, all musical toned and so forth. And another thing, too, is that there was a lot of problems with that school that turned around. I don't want to mention the names of the schools and so forth regarding these different organizations in high schools and so forth. I mean, you people have a lot of clout with the school board and so forth. When I went to school, and I'm sure not too long after that, they didn't have organizations, the black organization, the Mexican organization, the white organization. It's not for schools. If you don't belong to a club or association with the name of the school, it shouldn't be in the school. You're just asking for people to turn around and get in hassles and get in fights, and somebody just pushes somebody just to be doing it. I mean, you people just don't learn. It's just that everybody's considered equal. And something like this, it don't belong in a school. It turns around and belong to the school as a joint venture, not their separate venture. Thank you.
Next speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Nightingale. Our next speaker is John Walsh here in council chambers. Good morning, Mr. Walsh.
35,000 people who are paying attention at home, not the people up here who are paying no attention. That's our viewing audience. You know, I was late to the meeting today because I took the subway from hell. Subway from hell to the sea. The train broke down. There was chaos. We finally got here about 45 minutes late. When I got to the incidentally, you spent about $200 million, the city, on the subway from hell. And then, of course, the escalators weren't working. But the answer to that is to build the subway from hell to the sea. For what reason? So they can build huge condos and high-rises around the station, and so the maids and the low-income workers can get there to work for the white man. You know, they call me a traitor because I tell the truth about the white man. Just as there are minorities that lie for the white man, there are white men that tell the truth about minorities and how we exploit minorities. LA Times has been treating you very, very well. I'd like to quote Russ, the editor, Russ Stanton, who said to me at the Westwood Festival, he said, I asked him what was the future of the LA Times, and he said, a picture of Britney Spears holding a cat at a Lakers game. That's what he said the future was. And then Hiller, sitting next to him, jumped up when he saw me taking notes and said, he's only joking. In fact, they're going to fire 150 reporters in about 2 or 3 weeks. That's what we're having. And incidentally, good news, the Nazi skinheads have not murdered me yet. You know, I'm under a death threat from the Nazi skinheads from coming up here and telling you that the Little Country Church of Hollywood was burned down by them and there were swastikas all over the church. I'm waiting for more for anybody at the city council. And when the Jews have their church, their places of worship attacked, they respond. The Christians don't.
Thank you. Hugo Pacheco is now back, I understand. Mr. Pacheco, if you'd like to come forward.
Yes, my name is Hugo Pacheco, and I'm here basically to go ahead and let you know that I'm pretty upset at the fact that we have two standards in this city, and the one standard is for the regular citizens who have to go under the Federal Voting Rights Act, and the other standard is for those people that are on the neighborhood councils. They don't have any standards. Basically, it's whatever they come up with in each individual council. Something is very wrong with this system. Either we all become uniform and we all become part of the city of Los Angeles, or get rid of the whole system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. That will close our general public comment. If we can take up the commissioner first, item number 13. Yes? Yeah, Mr. Alarcon?
Just for the benefit of public, the previous speaker?
Yeah, briefly, sure.
Who he's walking?
Mr. Pacheco?
No, the other one.
Mr. Walsh?
Mr. Walsh?
Uh-huh.
Mr. Walsh, just to let you know, we introduced a motion to develop a Worship Watch program for exactly the reason that you expressed, and it applies to all religious institutions. We're working with the LAPD to develop that program with the Valley Interfaith Council of the San Fernando Valley. And so I just want you to know that that is something that is on the radar screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. If we can take up, and I'd like to recognize Mr. Alarcon again as we bring up our commissioner who is nominated, went through your committee. If we can ask him to please come forward to the table.
This is the appointment of Mr. Albert Abrams to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners.
Okay. Mr. Alarcon, would you like to say a few words?
Members, we reviewed Mr. Abrams' nomination in Education and Neighborhood Council Committee, and we find him to be exceptionally well qualified, interested in developing the Neighborhood Council system, and a believer in it. And but at the same time, I've asked him to explore the purpose and function of the Board of Neighborhood Council Commissioners, to see whether what we might do to improve it, or whether or not its function is overstated and perhaps we don't need it. And he very honestly said that he would give it that earnest effort, and I appreciate that. And I'm very happy to support him with Mr. Zine, who was also present in the committee. So with that, I encourage an aye vote for Mr. Abrams for Board of Neighborhood Council Commissioners.
Thank you very much. We have Mr. Zine next on the queue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo those positive comments. A member of Tarzana community, a member of the Tarzana Neighborhood Council, a man who's going to bring common sense and reasonableness to the commission. So highly approve of this recommendation by the mayor for neighborhood empowerment, neighborhood council, and this particular commission has a lot to do with bringing communities together. So I know you'll do well on that, and wish you and your family well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Rosendahl is our next speaker. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, we were having a little conversation off the side before, and we talked about the value of neighborhood councils. Tell me, how do you view a neighborhood council? What role should it play with an elected official?
Your question is, what role should it play with an elected official?
Yeah, I'm the councilman.
Right.
Now, each neighborhood council sets up a land use committee, which tends to have a big impact on character and scale, by right, variances, zoning, and all of that. Some of the people on these committees in some of the district are developers themselves and have a certain awareness and sensitivity to it. Then there's other committees. There's the transportation, there's the safety, I even have an empowerment Congress, which is separate from the neighborhood councils, where community people are involved. I just like your general philosophy of its interfacing with electeds.
Well, the charter is very clear. The neighborhood councils act as an advisory body to the respective council persons in those districts. Every neighborhood council is different. We have about 90 now. Many of them have experts on the neighborhood councils who do an extraordinary job of defining problems and also recommending really good decisions that they move up the chain to the council persons. Other neighborhood councils need help. They need, I think, to have training. I think they need to learn their real power, and I think they need to learn the value that they have inherent in their body. I'm very fortunate. I have been involved with the Tarzana Neighborhood Council for close to 3 years. It's an extraordinary body, and you know.
I love Tarzana. You know, when I used to do those community forums for 16 years, and it was such a beautiful, you know, Louise and Ernie Frankel helped put it together, and some other people as well.
And you know the magic and the power and that sense of cohesiveness that that community has, and that same civility, that same passion exists on the neighborhood council. So to me, it's a model.
Yeah.
We don't always agree. Many times we disagree, and we have passion about it. But in the end, we say, what's the win-win here? What's the advice we want to move up the chain to our council person to make a positive impact? So I think, to answer your question, I think neighborhood councils have to do the best they can, given their population, given their stakeholder involvement, which is something I'd like to work on, and be a true help to their council person.
Let me ask you this: Helen and Tria Norman. Remember Helen Norman as one of the great leaders in Tarzana with Louise and Ernie Frankel.
Sure.
One of the concerns people have is the Brown Act. For instance, my Mar Vista Neighborhood Council is totally engaged in community. I love them. Every Sunday I go to the farmers market. They're all there. They're doing constituent outreach. The Brown Act eliminates in some of their minds the ability to talk to each other as normal human beings do in a neighborhood. They don't have all that much power. They're advisory. So why do we have such a rigid Brown Act that doesn't allow them to actually talk?
Well, I think that nothing prohibits people from being good neighbors and good friends and talking. Nothing does that. I think, though, when you're dealing with issues of development, when you're dealing with issues of money, when you're dealing with issues that can potentially fracture neighborhoods, I think the Brown Act is an important component. I really do. Nothing prevents people from being good friends and neighbors. Nothing. So I don't accept that excuse that they can't discuss things, but they do have to respect the law. It's important.
Well, I want to thank you for stepping to the plate.
Sure.
You know, Tarzana is fun memories of what my relationship was, and we know you'll do a great job for all the citizens in Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas.
Mr. Abrams, you caught my attention. Councilmember Alarcon was telling me that you're a real nice guy and stuff like that, but beyond that, it sounds like you're very thoughtful. And I think it's very important that we appoint people to all the commissions, especially this commission, when we're talking about a commission that is involved in a new democracy as far as a new element of democracy that this city has embarked on. And we have a long way to go, and a lot of people are impatient, and rightfully so. Yet at the same time, when people give answers like the one you just gave, I think it's important for us to understand that respecting the law is critical. And you're absolutely right. The Brown Act does not preclude people from talking as friends. The Brown Act does not preclude people from talking about stuff. What the Brown Act does preclude people from doing is talking about things that are on the agenda of that organization, and they have to discuss it in public. So thank you very much for putting it better than I've ever heard anybody put it before. So thank you and welcome, and I look forward to your leadership and your role as a volunteer on this commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything to what's been said about your interest in serving? I'll give you the last word.
The Neighborhood Council is a work in progress. It is actually one of the most exciting things happening, I think, in this country. When you look over the scope, the width and breadth of this city, and you see over 1,000 individuals who are volunteering their time, their energy, to try to make a difference, to better their community, it's an outstanding, outstanding experiment that I think has not reached its potential yet. nothing is perfect. We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses. But what this city has embarked on and what they are witnessing happening in front of them, I think is absolutely fantastic enterprise. It's up to the council persons to either accept or not accept the advice and wisdom of their neighborhood councils, and I believe in that. I think it's a great system. But at the same time, what you have on the ground, anything lower on the ground from a grassroots, you'd have people helping people cross streets. That's because you really have an instrument right now that is feeding you in real time the dramatic and dynamic changes that are occurring on a neighborhood level. And I just think that personally have been a part of it. And to continue to be a part of it is a real thrill. The other thing I want to tell you is that this mayor is extraordinarily helpful and very, very positive. I had the pleasure and the honor to serve on the Budget Committee, and it was quite impressive to see him take not only our advice and our concerns, but to implement them into his own statements with regard to the budget. That shows that there's something there.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for offering to serve the people of Los Angeles in the neighborhood council system. And with that, we'll go ahead and make this official. If you can please prepare the roll on Mr. Abrams' nomination and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Round of applause for our new commissioner. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll send that forthwith, as well as items 17 and 18 without objection, please. If we can go to the first item called special.
Item 1 was called special for a card from the public.
Okay, we'll take cards from the public on item number 1 now. Jamie Wilson is our first speaker, and after Jamie will be Eric Eisenberg.
Good morning, President Garcetti, Councilwoman Hahn, council members. Thank you very much for considering our action item today, which is to allow the counting of our property-based bid in San Pedro. We came here about 3 years ago to get support from the council office with the leadership of Janice Hahn to get funds to get this bid started. We've done the work through the community over the last 3 years, and now we're here today again to thank you for all your help. We look forward to making the improvements in San Pedro that this property-based bid will allow us to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Eric Eisenberg is our next speaker. After that is Donald Duckworthy.
Good morning, President Garcetti and council members. I would like to reiterate what Mr. Wilson mentioned, that this has been a long, hard-worked process, and I'd like to thank Council Member Hahn for her support and the rest of the council for their support throughout the process. We hope that this, well, we don't hope, we know that this will help revitalize our community, bring us back to sustainability, bring us back to a vibrant economic and social environment that we've been longing for with clean and safe streets. And again, I'm just here to thank you today so we can move on and count these petitions and get this thing rolling. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Donald Duckworthy is our last speaker. Good morning.
Good morning. Members of the City Council, I've been the consultant working with the City Clerk's Office and the proponent group for the formation of the bid, and wanted to present myself in case there was any technical questions about the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. That will close our public comment. Ms. Hahn?
Well, thank you. I've been told by the city attorney that since this is the public hearing, much like a public comment, that I shouldn't have much interaction, but I am here to stand and say, obviously, I support this. I think what makes this property-based bid unique and important for downtown San Pedro is that it finally has figured out a way to get the Port of Los Angeles, who owns property in our town, to participate in all of our efforts to revitalize downtown San Pedro. And I think we're turning the corner from urban decay to urban renewal in downtown San Pedro. We need this kind of a steady revenue stream to beautify it, to keep it clean, to trim the trees, and also to market and promote what's going on in downtown San Pedro, particularly with our artist community. And we have an ACE district also moving along at the same time, and I see both of these vehicles as a way to really take downtown San Pedro to the place that it needs to get to be a really great destination point as we redevelop our waterfront as well. So I support this, and I know all of you will support this today.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
Wipe me off.
Oh, okay. With that, let's go ahead and open the roll on item.
Mr. President,
sorry,
on
we're
this item,
continuing
this actually will
Right.
be on the agenda for tomorrow for the ballot tabulation results.
This is just for public comment, so we will be back here tomorrow for the tabulation.
Mr. President, the hearing should be closed, though.
Okay, we will close the public hearing on that. And Mr. Rosendahl has asked for 28th or 30 next, if you'd like to. We have one card from the public, Mr. Rosendahl, on item 28. I'd like to go to Donna Pearman in the Valley, and then we will come back.
Okay, number 28. Okay, this is Donna. I don't see why you're withholding the West Los Angeles Animal Shelter. We have a real problem with our crowding in our shelters. We should be using our money to save our animals. No animals should be put to sleep, and the animal shelters should be in good shape. And it's not going to be a problem if we take away this for affordable housing. So you could put up a huge development for affordable housing. They look like huge prisons. After a while, they're in disarray, and it's usually overcrowded. It's not taken care of because who cares? It's only poor people, and the people themselves don't seem to have the time to take care of it also. Also on number 21, I just want to say the same problem, need a fire station. Fires happen, especially in this heat. Affordable housing shouldn't take away what's already slated. It's just a feel-good, want to get reelected measure. Thank you. Vote no on both.
Thank you. That'll close the public hearing. Mr. Rosendahl, items, we'll take them up concurrently, 28, 29, 30.
Mr. President, I'm waiting for the people from the Housing Department to show
Okay.
up, so could you hold
We'll
it
hold
at
it
the
short,
desk?
no problem. All right, we'll go to the next item called special.
Item 8 was called special for cards.
Okay, Zuma Dog is our first speaker on item 8, and then it'll be John Walsh after that.
And I'll just kind of combine 8, 9, 10, 11, talk to them all under this, because what we have here today, a lot of updating of the fees. Okay, number 8, update parking permit fees, update immobilized vehicle release fees, update permit surcharge fees, update bond processing fees, update check processing fees. You call them updates as in upping. So citizens alert, y'all. Just when they want to put a property tax on you for youth development, just when they want to add a half-a-cent sales tax to pay for the Gold Line money that they just turned down $420 million of, just when they added a phone and internet tax, Prop S, just when they triple your trash collection fees, just as all fees are skyrocketing, now they're updating parking permits, immobilized vehicle release fee. In other words, when you get towed, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot more to get it out. And all these fees. Put an end to it. No more fees.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dog. John Walsh is our next speaker, number 8.
That's a good argument, but it only counts for the west side because almost all of the preferential parking is in white areas. Everybody knows that. Preferential parking is that middle-class white people who live on the west side can remove anybody, minorities who come to nightclubs, whatever they remove them by spending the money. It's, it's minority removal. Okay? Everybody in the city of Los Angeles is an amateur traffic engineer. Every single 4 million of them. I'm telling you, in my neighborhood, one of the reasons I stand up for minorities is I'm a minority in my own neighborhood, so I have to stand up in solidarity, is you've got to realize that the process of getting preferential parking, you have to leap through 1,000 hoops, and you better pay the money. Go over and take a look. Remember, the La Brea Curtain. There's 2 cities, east of La Brea and west of La Brea. When Margaret Mitchell, a homeless woman, tried to move west of La Brea, she was shot dead by the LAPD, okay? And the homeless realized, I've lived in LA for, since 1976, I've seen 2 people west of La Brea homeless. This is all part of preferential sleeping. Not only aren't you allowed to park, you can't sleep. Everything is on the east side. In fact, if you go down there at night on La Brea, you'll see homeless sleeping on the east side of La Brea and nothing on the west side, because it is an invisible, and all the preferential parking. Why don't you show me that? Why don't you bring up a map and show us preferential parking and then show us racial distribution, and you will see it's almost exactly the same. And you know what? The city's getting close to the fuse, to the boiling point one more time.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is Keebler out there? Is there Keebler? On item number 9. Good morning.
How are you doing? I'm just here for the fees as well, just like a previous Zuma was here for. I've seen him on TV. It's actually my first time being here, so I came here to represent him too. I just said before, with how do you expect prices on everything like parking, all that kind of stuff, when their gas prices just keep going up and up and up? I mean, right down the street, gas is almost $5 a gallon. I mean, for the cheapest gas there is. A lot of cars nowadays don't even run on the cheapest gas there is. So you got to go to the premium, which is over $5. And then unemployment's at its highest that it can possibly be at right now. So that means less people have jobs. That means they're making less money. So how can you afford more gas, more prices on parking, more prices on just getting around? I don't see how you can see it. Yeah, just all said, don't raise the fees, and that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. That'll close our public comment on those items. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those items are approved. Next item, please.
And the ordinances will go over to next week.
Sorry, those ordinances will all go over. That's correct. Next
item 22 is called special for cards.
Okay, item 22 is next. Zuma Dog, if you'd like to come forward on 22.
Very complicated. I'll pass.
Okay, go ahead and open the roll on that item.
Mr. President, on this one, I do need to read something into the record.
Okay, please, Mr. Clerk.
CAO reports that the city sold the 2008 tax and revenue anticipation notes as follows. Goldman Sachs and Company at a true interest cost of 1.54583% for $140 million of the principal amount of the notes. Goldman Sachs and Company at a true interest cost of 1.54686% for $20 million of the principal amount of the notes. Citi at a true interest cost of 1.54789% for $50 million of the principal amount of the notes. Lehman Brothers Incorporated at a true interest cost of 1.54894% for $70 million of the principal amount of the notes. J.P. Morgan Securities Incorporated at a true interest cost of 1.54997% for $200 million of the principal amount of the notes. Bank of America Securities at a true interest cost of 1.55026% for $50 million of the principal amount of the notes. Bank of America Securities at a true interest cost of 1.55303% for $25 million of the principal amount of the notes. Zion's First National Bank at a true interest cost of 1.55516% for $10 million of the principal amount of the notes, and Citi at a true interest cost of 1.55620% for $410,325,000 of the principal amount of the notes. And the last one does not have the CAO could come up, possibly.
If that's the CAO on the last one, if we have an amount for that.
For a true principal amount of $975,325,000, a weighted average true interest cost of 1.55191%. Sorry.
Thank you. We'll put that into the record. And if we can please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. Next item, please.
Item 25, called special for cards.
All right, Mr. Zuma Dog, is that next speaker?
This is very important because it's from the Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee. It's for recommendations for financial advisors to the industrial development. So immediately, by the way, if I can have some quiet, because I'll be placing my name on the ballot as mayor in '09, and you don't want to piss off the potential mayor. So hopefully I'll be working with you on this. Again, Housing and Economic Development Committee, anytime you have any type of financial advisory to industrial development under Housing and Economic, I must say Dr. W. Edwards Deming. Dr. W. Edwards Deming, the American who taught the Japanese about quality in the post-war 50s. He taught them how to build quality products through manufacturing and industry. And you mark this down, Zumadog saying Dr. Deming, he will be the answer that this city will be embracing. It's just a matter of when. And I will go down in history as saying, wow, that Zumadog
I don't
is
believe he's
about
talking on the topic right now.
Please to stay on topic, Mr. Thank you. Item 25, does anyone wish to speak on item 25? If not, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on item 25, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item?
Item 26 called special for cards.
Yes, Mr. Zumadog on item 26.
This is very important, and, you know, make sure that when you cut me off that you're damn right I'm supposed to be cut off and not violating my rights. That was going to something very important. And right now I'm going to continue. Dr. W. Edwards Deming, the answer that I'm going to be cramming down the city's throat, and I guarantee you that you're going to be implementing
This is not regarding this item.
26. It's to support and reduce costs for the film and television industry. City Council wants to know how to reduce costs for the film and television industry. One answer, Dr. W. Edwards Deming. He teaches you how to improve efficiency, reduce waste. It's methods for management of quality and productivity. So you can start there. First of all, if you want to help reduce costs for film and television industry, first of all, traffic. Do something to reduce traffic. With the price of gas, it costs too much money. Housing. The price of housing is skyrocketed. You can't afford to live, in the downtown areas here and near the Hollywood studios, okay? And you have too many taxes and too many new fees, and this prevents people from wanting to move into the city and wanting to do business into the city because they can't afford to live in the city. Also, voting Antonio Viagra Osa the hell out of office will help because it doesn't help the economic stability of the Hollywood industry when you have a corrupt, out-of-control, Scarface-like politician that's draining the coffers, and that hurts the economy, and then you can't afford to live here, and then there's too much crime, and then they don't want to do business. So you can start by voting out Mayor Antonio Viagra Osa and voting in Zumadog in 09. So you've got traffic problems, housing problems, too many taxes, too many fees, and you got new sales taxes. Raising the sales tax will not help the Hollywood economy to want to do business here. Okay? Stop wasting federal, state, and local money in these nonprofits. The communities around the Hollywood area fall into further disrepair because the money that's provided to provide services are pilfered. See the LA Times front page story on nonprofit corruption. These are some of the things you can do to help the Hollywood economy.
Thank you very much. Mr. Garcetti?
Madam President, and colleagues, I urge your support of this today. Mr. Labange and a number of us introduced this, and want to thank Mr. Labange for, with many members of the council, really pushing forward on continuing to make sure that Los Angeles can be defined by its most famous neighborhood, Hollywood, and the industry that is named after that neighborhood. I want to thank our chair, Mr. Wesson, as well for moving this through committee. There are a number of things that the city has looked at doing, but what we really need is also action from the state to go hand in hand with that. For 3 years, we have seen a bill defeated up in Sacramento by legislators from other parts of the state who don't see the importance of keeping film and television production here in California. This is our core industry. Without Hollywood, Los Angeles is not Tinseltown. Without the good-paying jobs and without the non-polluting jobs that are provided, we don't have the spillover effect of those dollars that get recycled in restaurants and with caterers and florists and all of the concomitant industries that come with the entertainment industry. We are going to be introducing a motion specifically looking at trying to quantify the cost of our recent loss of Ugly Betty, a show that is packed up from Los Angeles and is headed to New York because of the tax incentives that exist there. But the city isn't just resting on its feet asking for state action. Part of what we're doing, and that's connected with this motion, is we are building 3 new entertainment technology zones in the city of Los Angeles. The first of them will be in Hollywood. Downtown and the Valley would be the next 2. but they will combine three things. One is the infrastructure for filming, building out so that people don't have to have those noisy generators on the street, some plug-ins in places where people can actually do production on the streets of Los Angeles. But secondly, we lobbied successfully for the state enterprise zone, which is for new hires and hires of lower-income individuals in some of our more depressed areas of the city, to be able to hire them and bring them into the film industry, to make the film industry and television industry more representative, but also to give those companies a tax break on those income taxes that they pay on new employees. And then third, we're giving the job training skills using our workforce investment dollars to be able to train people in those jobs through places like Workplace Hollywood, and the Worksource Center in Hollywood as well. So I urge your support today for this, and we are not powerless, but we have to act together with the state and federal officials to make sure that Hollywood stays in L.A. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcetti. We'll hope this year the state legislature actually passes that legislation. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on this item, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. I'd like to take item 35 next. We do have some cards, and also Mr. Garcetti called the special. Zuma Dog on item 35, followed by Donna Pearman.
Oh.
Yes, Mr. Zuma Dog.
Oh, what a bamboozle this must be. First of all, it says Community Redevelopment Agency, and I've already told you that's the biggest black hole sucking money out of the community. The CRA, they're bankrupting the city. All the money goes into high salaries, $120,000 salaries, then let's hire some consultants, then let's do a research project, and then let's do some more research, and then now we got to hire a new person for this and that, and then, hundreds of millions of dollars just sucked dry by the CRA, and then the community falls further into disrepair. So isn't it funny? This is for homeless services. Homeless services in the Hollywood redevelopment area. Here's how you can help homelessness. Provide some real affordable housing. What you guys call, you do all this housing, it's all luxury, upscale housing. Nobody can afford it. Well, we're going to get affordable housing. It's called not being able to sell under these overpriced luxury units. You should have gone for real affordable housing of all different types through the city. You can't afford to work in the city because you can't afford to live in the city. And so, hell yeah, you got more homelessness. But now you're having the CRA have $250,000, which is one way to say you're going to be robbed of $250,000, City of Los Angeles homeless people.
Thank you. Donna Pearman out in the San Fernando Valley. Ms. Pearman?
Yeah. I love what Zuma Dog says. Anyway, I missed 26 on the other CRA project. Anyway, I thought I saw this before. Is it the same measure, or is it more money for the homeless shelter? These homeless shelters are usually kept in disarray, usually not taken care of. Anything the CRA has a hand in, it can't work out. I'm sure you care about the homeless, the city council, especially Mr. President, but it does have to involve, does it have to involve the CRA? Do the homeless shelters really give dignity? Will this council personally check up on it? Will it be out of sight, out of mind? Also meant the CRA is not good for the film industry. CRA is not a good agency. We need to go to someone else. CRA is not to be trusted. As Zuma Dog said, he's just spent money on studies. You study this and you spend money on that, and you make these huge, big, ugly buildings with only a small amount of affordable housing, and mostly you're just benefiting the rich. But you throw a homeless shelter in there somewhere, so take care of the small amount of people for a short period of time. I don't think this is going to work out. I think it's just going to suck us dry. Anything the CRA has a hand in can't be good. Look at it. Don't trust them. Vote no on it.
Thank you. Carrie Morrison, followed by Rudy Salinas, followed by Tara Brown.
Good morning, members of the City Council. My name is Carrie Morrison. I'm the Executive Director of the Hollywood Property Owners Alliance. I'm here today to speak in favor of the support by the CRA of the People Assisting the Homeless HERO program, which is a street outreach program in Hollywood that has been exceedingly successful in reaching out to some of the most chronically difficult to reach homeless people in Hollywood. We are great supporters in Hollywood of moving people into permanent supportive housing. A lot of these individuals who have been on the street, some of them for years and years, are very resistant to coming into shelter, and it requires the care and the tenacity of the HERO program to actually gain their trust and bring them into housing and shelter that is available. I speak on behalf of 2 business improvement districts, both of whom have contributed a total of $60,000 toward this program. We've seen great results, and we think it's integral to helping some of our homeless neighbors in Hollywood actually come in to live somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carrie. Rudy Salinas, followed by Tara Brown, and followed by John Walsh.
Good morning, council members. My name is Rudy Salinas, and I am the Director of Community Outreach at PATH, People Assisting the Homeless. I want to share with you something we've experienced during our effort with HERO. The HERO team has been working with a couple, Jim and Sandra. They have been residents of the Hollywood Hills for the past 30 years. They were living in a duplex until the rent was increased by $1,000, and it became impossible for them to continue paying rent. The clients were then living in their vehicles in the streets of Hollywood since February of this year, when we encountered them in the parking lot of a Big Lots in Hollywood. When we encountered them, a collaborative effort between us and the bid helped us increase the amount of food that we could get to them daily or weekly when we could meet them, hygiene kits, and most importantly, we were able to link them to a source of income where they've started establishing trust with the team, with the outreach team that meets with them in the community nightly. Our goal, of course, is linking them through more services so that eventually we can get them connected to permanent housing, permanent supportive housing, I should say. I just want to just quickly say that this is an effort that we do nightly with many people, not just Jim and Sandra. Our efforts are very unique in that they take place between 4 p.m. and midnight, which is quite unique for a street outreach team specifically working with the homeless. I ask that you consider this and that please support the motion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Tara Brown.
Good morning, esteemed council members. My name is Tara Brown. I am the Chief Administrative Officer of PATH Partners, and I'm here, of course, to speak in support of our HERO program. I want to thank the CRA for its generous support of the program and partnering in our local community efforts to be a solution in ending homelessness. As Carrie has already alerted you to, we are partnering with private and public providers, including the bids, the neighborhood councils, residents of the Hollywood area, law enforcement, even the hospitals, and of course, service providers and our council districts 13 and 4. Together, we are working to provide a solution to ending homelessness in Hollywood to some of the most chronic, vulnerable, and neediest people on the streets. And as Rudy said, it's special in that we're doing this during the evenings and the weekends. Usually it's done during the day when all services are open, but because PATH Partners has a great continuum itself of providing services to permanent housing, we are able to do this in the evenings and in the weekends and provide the infrastructure to bring homeless folks into services and ultimately placing them into housing. I want to thank the City Council in advance for supporting this motion. I want to thank CRA for its efforts in support of this motion, and I want to say that I really appreciate the city's commitment to ending homelessness, to building affordable housing, and linking services to homeless to get them into housing. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much for being here. John Walsh.
Living at the same address in Hollywood since October 1976. And you know what? You inflate homelessness. I've been there over 30 years, and the level of homelessness does not increase. In fact, you've got a giant bureaucracy that is invested in homelessness. I'll take anyone on the street. When I went to the CPAD meeting, they did a homeless sweep. It was there were just a few hundred people in Hollywood, the core of homelessness. And they were counting people sleeping in the cars, which I don't count. If you go to and I'll take any of you now, we could disguise as homeless people and get into the shelters. They are nearly empty. They are just a place for drug dealers to hang out and sell a few drugs. I'm asking the media for a reporter to go undercover at these homeless shelters and see what a crock these undercover shelters are. I'm telling you now, and most homeless people are in the last stages of alcoholic death. That's what they are. They are near death because they turn over very fast. The guy I saw sleeping across the street 6 months ago is gone. And I know where he's gone. He's gone to heaven, because anyone who dies of homelessness doesn't go to hell. Only the politicians go to hell. I'd like to point out, Capitol Records has a few homeless in front of it. I'm telling you, in front of the mural. I hope you saw that terrible mural that has been allowed to fall apart called Hollywood Jazz on the Capitol Records building. It is a disgrace to Hollywood. I say, Capitol Records, it's time to, Richard Wyatt is the muralist, restore the mural. Even the homeless won't urinate against that mural. It's so despicably, 15 or 20 years later, untended to and falling apart with Nat King Cole on the cover.
Closes public comment. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to thank the members of the Hollywood community who took the time to not only be here, but who are the front line in our homeless outreach. I think, as we mentioned last week, not only are we changing the way that we do things in Hollywood, but we have a great partnership. In years past, we probably wouldn't have seen that reflected as positive words about Community Redevelopment Agency, and I think it's really the hard-working men and women there who have done a different sort of outreach and who have wanted results-oriented programs and have wanted us to take a look at homelessness and not just maintain it, but look at ending it in Hollywood once and for all. I mentioned that we had just over a week ago, working with PATH and other partners with Project YIMBY, over 700 individuals who received services, whether it was job training or child support or whether it was substance abuse issues at the Henry Fonda Theater, the Music Box Theater at the Henry Fonda. And we were able to also look at not just quantifying the number of homeless that are out there, but looking at what we can do differently. Our homeless shelters are not empty. Unfortunately, they're full of people. The PATH homeless shelter every night is at capacity, and we have to turn people away. We have young people who are being emancipated from their lives as foster children who hit the streets in Hollywood. It's sometimes the first stop that they have. We have families who are living in storage units. We have people who are living out of cars, and of course we have people that are on the streets as well. And all of them need that care and that assistance. What this money will do today is we'll have the HERO teams, which Phil Mangano, the President's homelessness czar, has cited as a model program, go out there and seek people out where they are, whether that's on a freeway off-ramp, whether that's in a car, whether it's in a day program for homeless youth, like we have in Hollywood. It will be able to touch people and turn them into getting a permanent place to live. And we always have people who leave the streets, and we have new people who hit the streets. We want to create a system in which we have more people living in the streets than hitting the streets so that we can really bring that number down as close to zero as possible. And the best part about this is CRA money. CRA money is local money being spent locally. It's when it's disconnected from the community that I think we all share a feeling that that's not what redevelopment is about. But what we're seeing in the redevelopment agency is not only outreach with community specialists who are doing that, but also the inclusion of all the partners and players who are in Hollywood. And it's really been a model program not just for Los Angeles, but nationally. So I urge everyone's support for this today. For those who are homeless and seeking help, it is out there and it is on its way. This will continue it and ramp it up. And I want to thank especially PATH, which is doing such an extraordinary job in innovating in this field as well. And thank you to the BID and Carrie for your great help as well.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, if you would open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to the items from Mr. Rosendahl had called special, 28, 29, and 30. You wish to call those together, Mr. Rosendahl?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's items 28, 29, and 30.
Great. Please.
Could I ask the gentleman from the city to come forward and introduce himself?
Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Sean Spear. I'm the Director of Major Projects at the Los Angeles Housing Department.
Well, good morning, Shannon. We're happy to have you here. Colleagues, this is a wonderful moment for us in the 11th District. As you might know, when we were going through the budget process, there was tremendous concern about how we closed the gap. And we're very happy to say that the animal shelter on the corner of Missouri and Bundy Fire Station 62 as it becomes Centinela right before it hits Venice Boulevard, a block and a half from where I live, is now vacant. And then also over in Westchester, the old Fire Station 5. And I might say I was at Fire Station 95 today, remembering Brett Levin, who got killed in Westchester, and we're remodeling that place. And it was a wonderful moment to be with the firefighters who every day that bell rings, they put their life on the line. And may Brett Levin rest in peace. But those three locations are locations that we're getting engaged in. Explain what we're doing at this point.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman. And what we really see at the Housing Department is that this is a tremendous opportunity for us to take available surplus facilities that the city owns and make them available for affordable housing development. Part of the criteria in looking at this is that we would go through a process of selecting a developer or a number of developers in this case for the sites, ones that are qualified, that have experience doing affordable housing, and ones that could take the lead and essentially working through the process to eventually have affordable housing created at the sites. So I think in discussions that we've had with your office and under your leadership, we've really worked towards seeing the animal shelter potentially as an opportunity for us to site permanent supportive housing. This would be in the neighborhood of between 48 to 65 units, depending ultimately on what the developers respond to through the RFP process. But more than anything else, we see it as a real unique opportunity for us to site permanent supportive housing in areas that traditionally we had not been able to.
And I might say, colleagues, this is a first for the 11th District. We're going to have permanent housing with supportive services for 50 homeless individuals. Santa Monica has always stepped to the plate, which is in the heart of my district, and we're stepping to the plate, and we're going to have permanent housing with supportive services. We're going to do an outreach. We'll hold public meetings, and people in West LA and in Brentwood and Mar Vista along the corridor there will engage in that process. And then when we go to Fire Station 62, we have two dreams. One is a community center on the first floor. I'll have a constituent office hours there. I'm a block and a half away. I'll walk to it, and I can be able to work and interface with my Mar Vista folks. But then we're building 24 units, and these will be for low-income Section 8 and other folks, seniors, veterans. Permanent, beautiful apartment complex above it. And then the third one over there at Fire Station 5, old Fire Station 5, we're also in the early stages of figuring out what kind of a complex we can make. But basically what we're doing is making a huge effort to keep low income and affordable housing in the 11th District. One of the reasons we have such gridlock in our district is that there's no place to live and everybody's going to work in Santa Monica or in the West Side. It's the job rich and our streets are clogged. Wouldn't it be great to have permanent housing and affordable housing for people who live and work in the district? So I want to thank you for your leadership on this. We're looking forward to public outreach for Fire Station 62, Fire Station 5, and the animal shelter. Engage the community so that it's a positive experience for all of us. And I ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Those items are now before us. That would be 28, 29, and 30. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on those items, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Those items have been approved. Next item.
Item 37, called special for cards.
Yes, we'll go to Donna Pearman.
This is on the fee waivers, right?
That is correct.
Okay. First, I want to say we don't need to divide people. White people and minorities need to be together. We're both taken by the cleaners, by the city council. Where are you, Sharon Brewer? We need you to bring this up and add these up. I really liked it. Anyway, a city falls apart while the city parties. I don't see why I have to pay for movie night, $3,244, business pancake breakfast. But they didn't say what fundraiser it was. It doesn't say. $1,730 Shakespeare Festival. People who go there can pay for it. $2,500 fee, not needed. I'm sorry, I don't see why the city is responsible for the 4th of July block parties. I suppose you wanted to get rid of the not controlled fireworks. Well, you did that. 6 block parties, no block party in Reseda. We only get power shortages. 5 of them 4th of July parties. Do you really need to keep to help only a small population of people while the bigger population doesn't get anything? keep them dumbed down, overfed, too much alcohol, keep them from looking at the real problems, keep them from partying at our expense, really at their expense. Party while you can, so city council could put more fees. I didn't realize the car fees was up for the public. I thought it was held already. So you see, we have new fees while they do fee waivers. New fee waivers for you, but no fee waivers for over there. It doesn't make any sense. We need to stop these because these are going into the millions, and eventually it's going to go into the billions, and they're going to come up with more fee waivers, and then we're going to have to do this thing with the gangs. Certainly, if we waived all those fees, we would have a lot of money left over to take care of all the problems we need. Vote no on it. Close the roll, tabulate the vote. 12 ayes. I know it already.
Thank you. Keebler?
How's it going again? This is actually a pretty big subject just because that is a lot of money that you guys are just letting go. If I can have half of this money that you guys are getting, that's $15,000 that's just going out the window. If I wanted to hold something like this, I'd have to pay that money. How come they're more special than I am just to hold that? All this money is just being wasted. Our tax money is being wasted because of this. We got to close our streets down, but yet we still got to pay for those to be cleaned. We got to have those cleaned after they get done, and we didn't even get to use it. This is supposed to be a free to the public kind of thing, but yet you guys charge for all the Grammys, you guys charge for all the big special events that you always have. Biggest thing is that if you guys are doing all this money, or absorbing all this money, why don't you give some for Richard Eastman's medical marijuana march? He has to pay for all, or somebody has to pay for all of that. That's something I'm really big on too. Just all these little public events, you have to pay for it. But if they're big professional private events, why did they get waived on them? I just really don't understand. That's about $15,000, like I said before. I'll take $1,000 if you can. Like I said before, my name is Keebler. I'm here for Zuma. Just all I can say is put the money where it should belong, not just absorbing into you guys wherever it goes. Thanks.
Thank you very much. That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item?
Item 42, called special for cards.
Yes, Mr. Zumadog was on that. I know he has reached his maximum time today. So open the roll on item 42. Actually, 42 and 43 are before us.
Madam President, actually on item 42, the ordinance has come in from the City Attorney's Office, and it will be presented on Friday.
Okay. Then we will, it'll just be continued till Friday?
Actually, a vote should be taken today.
Thank you. We'll go with item 42. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item, I believe, would be 43. And Mr. Zumadog, as I mentioned, has reached his maximum number of minutes. So, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on item 43, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those items will be posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Cardenas requests to be excused to arrive at 10:30 on Wednesday, July 9th, and for the entire meeting, Wednesday, September 3rd, both for city business and both meet council policy.
They'll be excused.
And Councilmember Alarcon requests to be excused Tuesday, July 29th, for city business that meets council policy.
Thank you. He will be excused.
That clears the desk.
Thank you. Do we have announcements? Announcements. I know we have adjourning motions. If everyone could please rise. Everyone have risen. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. Members, I'd like us to adjourn today in the memory of Flora Baker, who is a resident of San Pedro, and she passed away on July 5th at the age of 87. Flora was quite an accomplished woman. She received a doctorate from UCLA's Institute of Ethnomusicology, a bachelor's and master's of arts and music from Cal State University, specializing in music of Java, China, Burma, Thailand, Iran, and India. Flora also was the past president of the San Pedro Bay Historical Society, the Harbor Advisory Committee, the Community Concert Association, the 30-Year Club, and the Los Angelinas. She served as editor of Shoreline Publication and was named honorary harbor historian by the City Council many years ago. Flora was also an accomplished classical pianist and an operatic singer and has been given numerous awards for her work. She's survived by her son, Russell Glenn Baker Jr., a daughter, Bonnie, a daughter, Lenore, a daughter, Peggy Margaret, and she was blessed with 14 grandchildren and 29 great-grandchildren. I'd also like us to adjourn today in the memory of Mondo Ramos, who was a two-time lightweight boxing champion who died this past Sunday at his home in San Pedro. He was only 59. Mondo was one of the most popular and exciting fighters in Southern California during the 1960s. He enjoyed incredible success at a young age, and at age 20, he became the youngest man to ever win the World Lightweight Championship. Former Times columnist John Hall believed that at one point he was so quick and so sharp he could have beaten any lightweight who ever lived. Mondo was inducted into the California Boxing Hall of Fame 2 weeks ago. The tough fights and his addiction to drugs and alcohol took a toll, and he was actually out of boxing by age 27. With the aid of his wife, Sylvia Van Heck, Ramos was able to overcome his demons and was clean and sober the last 26 years of his life. In 1983, he started BAD, Boxing Against Alcohol and Drugs, a nonprofit youth organization that helped at-risk youth to avoid those same kinds of demons that had haunted him his whole life. He truly dedicated his later years to coaching, mentoring, and training inner-city at-risk youth. In addition to talking with high school students from across the region, Mondo volunteered at the Wilmington Teen Center and the Harbor Boxing Club. Ramos is survived by his wife, his son, Mondo Jr., 4 grandchildren, a brother, Andrew, and a niece.
Mr. Alico.
I would just like to add on that back in the day when Mondo Ramos was fighting, there weren't a lot of role models for Latino athletes. And Mondo was the first to sort of demonstrate a social conscience and giving back to the community as part and parcel of his responsibilities as an athlete. I remember watching him fight at the Olympic. And unfortunately, he lost that fight. Some 30 years later, I was golfing at Hansen Dam, and I just walked in and golfed with these 3 Korean gentlemen, and it turned out that one of them was the guy that beat Mondo Ramos at the Olympic. It was really funny because he could barely speak English, and he said, "I fought Mondo Ramos," and that was his claim to fame. And it was an amazing fight. But I think I appreciate Ms. Hahn's explanation of the giving spirit that Mondo had. That was incorporated from the beginning, and I think he has actually become a role model to other athletes, that they also get involved in their communities and help those kids. Boxing is a tough field, and in order to succeed, the vast majority of boxers come out of tough neighborhoods, and they have so much to give back if they choose to. Mondo certainly chose to and did so much good, particularly for those who struggle against the drug plight. So we wish him well, and that boxers, I guess, they ring the bell for boxers who have passed. So today the City Council is ringing a bell for Mondo Ramos.
Thank you. I'd like to ask that we adjourn in the memory of Isaac Starkman, known as Ike, who died at the age of 70 on Thursday, July 3rd, 2008. He was born in Palestine, now Israel, in 1937 and served in the Israeli military before arriving in New York City in 1961. After moving to Los Angeles in 1963, he worked in the food and beverage industry, and he learned a great deal from this experience and founded the Jerry's Famous Deli with the 1978 opening of the Studio City location. The idea for that restaurant grew out of a fresh bagel and lox home delivery service that Starkman used Sunday mornings in Los Angeles. He has grown the chain of restaurants to include 9 Jerry's restaurants in Southern California, 1 in Miami Beach. And before Jerry's Famous Deli became successful, Starkman kept adding items to the menu, hoping to find the right formula. The menu grew to over 700 offerings. If you've been to Jerry's Deli, you can see the many pages of offerings of food and options before you. He told the Times in 1996 that the problem was that he kept adding, but nothing was ever taken off. The business also operates 2 nightclubs, Guys and Guys North, and a gourmet market in Miami Beach. He was a great individual, a great civic leader. He died suddenly, and it is a great loss to this city and to this community. He was a stalwart supporter of the neighborhood, and Jerry's Deli lives in so many parts of our city, and he will be greatly missed. Yes, yes. Mr. Garcetti will second that. Any other adjourning motions? If not, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.